The way we're going to do this is we're just going to take a wander along here. This is probably what we think is the world's largest pinball collection. It certainly is the most pinballs that have been assembled in one place at one time that are up and running. So we're going to take a brief walk through. This is Rocky. This was based on the movie. And if you ever see the Rocky, I think it's Rocky 3, the movie, you'll see him standing next to this game. But in the movie, it's in a black hole cabinet. It must have been a prototype or something because it has the chaser lights on the back. So all the production Rockies had a normal cabinet, but the one in the movie was apparently in a black hole cabinet. This one has a new playfield. And this is Timeline. This is another one of those System 80 games that really weren't very good. It's kind of It's got a little mini playfield up there on the left. And this is Crow. I'm sure a lot of people have never seen this game. They only made 10 of these. This was a prototype that they decided not to build after Gottlieb went out of business and then opened up again. They decided not to build this one. We only know of 3 of these that exist. 3 of the 10 are still around. So it's got a little mini playfield underneath that you see through that reducing lens. That's what that tunnel effect is under there. And here's another dead System 80 game. This one's Volcano. And I think it also blew its fuse. No, that one's got a good fuse. Oh, the ball's stuck. Here's the problem. Ball's stuck up there. But yeah, it's got the chaser lights, same as the black hole. Okay, we got this is some bingos I got. We're over on the other side. This is a nightclub. It's what's called a turning corners bingo. Later in this tape, we're going to go into a bingo in depth. This is a Surmo Manhattan. This bingo was made in 1981 over in Belgium. It's all digital, which is quite nice if you've ever worked on a bingo. Got that for free. That was one of my dumpster dives. And here's a really weird game called Orbiter 1. And if you want to, if you're interested in seeing all the gruesome details of this game, when you send us your $6, you deadbeats, go ahead and request this one, and next time we'll go into depth on this. This is a Bobo from 1961. It's got one of these space-age Jetsons cabinets that everybody hates, with the drink shelf that's always all rusted and banged up. Another System 80 game, Gottlieb's Star Race. And we're just kind of jetting through these real quick, but each one of these represents about a week out of my life to go ahead and rebuild them like this. Now here we have a Spanish Eyes and a Granada. Now, if you look at the back glass on this, they're both the same because I only have 2 Spanish Eyes glasses. So if you're out there and you happen to have a spare Granada glass, let me know. If you look at the playfields, this is a short flipper version here, and this is the one everybody's more familiar with here, the long flipper version, Spanish Eyes. They made Granada for New York and Wisconsin, where apparently it was people liked the short flipper games more. And it was a great game. We made a lot of money with Spanish Eyes. And here's my Flying Circus. We'll be going into depth later on this very game. Here's one of the newer games, a space station. I got this from a guy at the sandwich shop up on the corner for 200 bucks. It's one of those new games with all the ramps and bells and whistles and stuff. Gottlieb's Sure Shot is this next one. It's one of the late 70s pool games. Everybody thinks Gottlieb makes great pool games and card games. Here's a Lucky Ace. This is a single-player version of Dealer's Choice, and for a Williams game, it's actually a pretty good game. Steve Kordek was kind of hitting his stride at that point as a designer. Shipmates. A lot of people like the Shipmates. It's also, there's a trivial fact, it's the highest production game of any game in the 60s. So that's your Shipmates with the giant sailor and the little baby chicks that he's got on his arm. That's also the 4th back glass that I've had on that. I've managed to trade up to better glass each time. And we're going to skip over this Sure Shot because that's a duplicate. Here's a Williams Olympics. This Olympics is kind of weird because it's got Roy Parker art on it, one of only 3 games that we know of that Roy Parker did for Williams. Generally he stuck with the Genco, Chicago Coin, and Gottlieb games, but those are definitely Parker babes there, and Parker butts. And later we're going to get into the fact that Mr. Parker had a problem drawing people's hands, and wherever possible he would try to make the hands disappear behind something. If you look at the girl on the diving board there, she conveniently kind of puts her hands behind her legs there, so he didn't have to draw them. And when we were kids, we used to tell which artist it was. We called him the guy with the cheeks and the problem with the hands. We didn't know what his name was. But yeah, this is actually an interesting game. If you get a chance to get an Olympics, it's pretty cool. This one here is an Eager Beaver. This is an Art Stenholm game. The glass is Art Stenholm. You can tell it's got that kind of cartoony style. It's also a terrible glass. If you know anybody that's got a better one, this one's just hammered. But, you know, I like the game. It's a fun machine. So, Wisconsin State Champ. And this is a triple action. This is another Steve Kordak game. A great game with that big spinner in the middle. Don't think much of the artwork, but the spinner is always fun to hit that and send it spinning around like crazy. I put those blinking lights in there just kind of to whore the thing up. And here's Big Ben. This is part of the late 70s Let's Get Groovy phase. You get all these groovy guys and groovy gals on Westminster Bridge, and there's that stupid clock thing in the background. It's a pretty mediocre game. I mean, as far as games go, this is where Steve Kordak was falling a little bit into his formula. And here's a broken volley game. This is odd. Usually Gottlieb games don't break, but for some reason this one's off. This is a pretty good game. I like drop target games, and this is real simple. Just hit 3 banks of drop targets. Boom, boom, boom. Here's Buck Rogers. And hey, this is one of these new circuit boards that they came out with. One of these knee-wumph boards, and sure enough, it refuses to work. So apparently I have a problem with this already. Well, there's another one dead. Here's a Surfin' Safari 1991 game. We're going to be going through this in depth more later in the tape, so this is one of the ones we've picked for our first tape to go into depth on. This is a great game. If you ever get a chance to get one, you should. I think it's freaking out our camera there.
Yeah, let's...
He's going to have to focus. This is Satan's Doll. This is, we used to call it Satan's Doll. I got this at the first Phoenix show for 50 bucks. This game is in great shape, and it was going for 50 bucks. And didn't like the game much. It kind of grew on me. But it's real pretty. You know, a lot of people like that Art Deco look of it. And here's the 5th game I ever owned. Dixieland. And this was the first time I realized that pinball could be asymmetrical and still be fun. If you look at this playfield, the left side is absolutely different from the right side. That was one of Ted Zale's trademarks as a designer, was the fact that he would use asymmetrical playfields. And it kind of opened up a whole new world for me as far as left side versus right side. Didn't think I was going to like it. Bought it from a bunch of old hippies in a bead store. But I've had this game for a long time, and it's a great game if you get a chance to get one. Here's a Heat Wave. This is a game everybody's after all of a sudden because now they have the reproduction glass. That's a new reproduction glass that I think the Engels at Mayfair Amusement did. You can see the detail and the color is real fine on it. Yeah, zoom in on the Hooters, you pervert. But it's got this temperature thingy. And what that is the original one was all rusted out, so I took one of those red ribbons that Mothers Against Drunk Driving were giving out. Finally found a use for the red ribbons of Mothers Against Drunk Driving and mounted it on here and painted the rest of it white. So that used to be all rusted out. And the cabinet, I got this from Danger Dan down in Phoenix, and the cabinet's painted all this horrible purple enamel paint. Ugh! Hideous. This is Suspense. This is the first Williams game with long flippers. In fact, it's the first pinball ever, not a horse game, with long flippers. And they weren't too sure if they were going to like it or not, so they put both long flippers and short flippers on the same game. There's your short flipper and the long flipper. Unfortunately, I remember playing this game as a kid, and there's absolutely no way to control the ball because they wired it up so that the center flippers work all the time and the left flipper works with the left button. So you end up getting confused and flipping wrong. This one's a Gottlieb Circus. It's a beautiful game to look at, lots of nice colors, nice big wide open play field, but unfortunately there's nothing to shoot for. So I don't know, it's a pretty good game. Put a new play field on this one, it's in real good shape. Here's Spider-Man, and the first thing anybody says when they see the Spider-Man is, did you see when David Letterman threw a Spider-Man off the 12-story tower? And yes, I've got that on tape somewhere. Somebody on the East Coast called me up and said, you got to tape Letterman tonight. He's pushing a Spider-Man off a 12-story tower. And many times I have wanted to push this game off a 12-story tower because it just doesn't want to work. Here's a Jax 2 Open, which is a digital version of Jax Open, the mechanical game. It's virtually the same game with a couple rules changes. If you get a chance to get one, it's got real neat sound. Let's, no, of course not. There's no credits on it. It's got great sound, which the original didn't have. And it plays you a little song there. And just like the original Jax Open, you have to open with a pair of jacks, then you have to get 3 queens, then you got to get the full house, then you got to get the royal flush. Then it'll automatically pull down all the black targets up here, and you shoot for the royal flush to get your double bonus, extra ball, and special. Great target shooting game if you're into shooting targets. This is Counterforce. This has to be in my top 20 games of all time because it's everything that the Space Invaders pinball should have been. It's a great game. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work again. No, it's stuck in a loop. And this is the special vegetarian Counterforce with the eat meat drop targets. I had some tag teams. I had a whole box of tag team drop targets. So I decided to turn tag team into eat meat. This also has a new playfield on it.